people, welcome to my podcast Life Adventures Taught Me. For the new listeners, this podcast is in general about my life experiences. There is a wide range of different directions and topics I talk about, such as life philosophy, travel adventures, self-development, and many different topics that I find interesting. And in today's episode, I will talk about my fourth and the last student exchange in Czech Republic, Brno. Just a quick heads up, my voice might sound a bit different today because I've been battling a sore throat. But yeah, don't worry, this podcast train keeps on rolling. Thanks for sticking with me and let's dive in. So at the start of 2020, I was finishing my third student exchange in Austria, and just like after 10 days at home in Serbia, I was supposed to continue towards my next student exchange in Czech Republic that was supposed to be in February. But I got ill and I needed to postpone it a bit. But there was one issue that I mentioned in one of the episodes before, I would say on the start. I mentioned this case, the case of before going to this last student exchange. So the thing was that I have already paid for the residency in advance in Czech Republic. I paid for my tickets to Czech Republic already and some extra costs I had for this. And you know, when you are in your student years, the most of us, we don't have too much money, at least it was my case. So I spent a lot of money, my money back then, that was a lot for me in that period, on documents, as I said, for travel costs and accommodation. So just before I was supposed to go there, my coordinator, he told me, oh, actually I checked, you cannot go for the second student exchange for the second time because your master studies are for 1 year. Yeah, you cannot go, you should stay here at this university and stay home. And you know what is the feeling when you are so excited about something, as I was excited about this new adventure, new country that I'm gonna live in. When you have something and you are so happy about, and when they take it from you, and then it's like just the really terrible feeling of having something and being excited about it, waiting for it, and when it is supposed to happen, when you are supposed to have it, they take it from you. I am sure you know it from your experiences. So I really felt terrible, but I didn't want to give up the same way as I didn't want to give up on this week's episodes because I was ill. So there were two things that were stopping me from it. First of all, I was ill and I needed to wait for 2-3 weeks as minimum. And another thing that my university doesn't want to approve it anymore. But the thing was that I already got the scholarship from Czech Republic University, from Brno Mendel University, and there was nothing to lose because in Austria, as I mentioned in the previous episode, I already passed almost all the exams. There was only one exam left, and if I stay at my university, I wouldn't have what to do. I would really get bored, and why not to use this scholarship because it's not gonna be used anyway. So why to waste it if I'm not losing anything on my university? So I really didn't want to stop with that, and to be honest, I didn't really care that much about master studies. I finished my bachelor studies, which was important goal for me to achieve. I achieved it, and then for master studies I went mostly because I would be able to do 2 more student exchanges, and as this was the case that I will not go for the second one, I really didn't care. What I cared about is about the experience living in another country, and that's what I was going for. So I spoke with the coordinator from Czech Republic, a really good guy, Pavel. Saludos for him. He really helped me a lot with all the process, and he told me why not to use it. I don't understand. Like, you just come over here, and when you are here already for 1 month, you're gonna say, oh, oops, he is here, and they will not say anything about it because nobody has to lose here. And if it's already approved, just come here and enjoy your time, this opportunity in Czech Republic. So thanks to his support and my willingness and my stubborn character sometimes, I achieved to get to Czech Republic and go through this experience. And I would say that this last exchange, fourth exchange, was like the combination of all three previous exchange in Austria, Poland and Spain. It felt like a closing chapter of my adventurous student years, filled with studying and unforgettable travel experiences. So it really did feel like a final thing concluding this period of my life. So I managed to arrive to Brno, Czech Republic, 2nd of March, and I stayed in a hostel in the city center. And the next morning, 3rd of March, I went to dormitory to sign the residency contract so I can stay over there and finish all the documents things. And one really important thing to say was that this was the last day possible to arrive to the dormitory, because all the people who have arrived the next day, the 4th of March and later on, they were sending them back home because there was coronavirus spreading. So it was 2020 and I was really lucky to arrive on the last day possible and to be able to stay in the dormitory. Before going to Czech Republic, I really didn't hear anything about corona. The first time it was like just when I have arrived there, and especially after 2 weeks when they have already started with quarantines. But at the start we had a couple of weeks, so I was lucky to meet a lot of people in this period. Most of the time I was again with Spanish speaking people, Latino people, and there was like just after a few days I have arrived, there was a dancing ball where we all dressed nice, and it really felt like corona is not coming definitely. And there I had the opportunity to meet a lot of people, and also especially from my dormitory. So as soon as I got there, I met a lot of people and it helped me to already develop my social life over there. So in this exchange I met a lot of people who were just like me, natural, positive, full of jokes and always up for an adventure. So as I said, it made this adapting so much easier. The residency where I stayed, it was Yak Residency Block A. I remember I got some other residency that was more expensive, and I asked, is it possible to get to this other one, Yak, that is bigger, because I already knew, I had experience from previous exchanges, because where there is a bigger residency and where is more of student exchange people, there is a bigger possibility of better life. So I already knew it, it's gonna be a lot more fun over here, and it was cheaper residency, which was even better. So they moved me to this one, and it was exactly the great choice I did before coming, because the other residency I got, I don't remember the name, but it was quite lonely and there were only a few people from student exchange. So in this residency Yak, in the block A, were the most of the people I was the best with during this exchange, and the most of the people of student exchange, they stayed at this block. So we had, actually during Corona, that was hard period for the world, for us was really nice period, because we had friends like in the rooms nearby or another floor. Generally in the block we had a lot of friends, and we had our little parties, our many beautiful moments, memories. And one thing that marked this period is a lot of stuff, restaurants, discos and other things were closed in the city. What marked this period, it was hiking around Brno and the hills around Brno and around Czech Republic. So we spent so much time in the nature, which I really appreciated, because I feel as I grow older and older, I need more and more time in the nature. And also as I work online, and we all generally spend a lot of time in front of the computer, in closed rooms, boxes, we spend less time in the nature. So in this period, just because of Corona, that was a period that a lot of people stayed inside because of the restrictions and stuff. There was a period that we could go outside and we were really using it the best way, and that's how we got connected more to the nature, and it helped us go through this period much easier than the majority of people, I would say. So it was almost every second day hiking around the forests, exploring the nature of Czech Republic and its forests, and I can say they are really, really beautiful, and we had amazing views. And there is nothing more for me exciting when you go for a trip and you don't know what's gonna wait you over there, because these areas like to hike are popular, some of them are more popular and people already know where are they going, like what is the final destination of the hiking and coming back. But many hikings that we did, we didn't know what is going to wait for us. We just saw some name and we were like, okay, we didn't see this part of the hill, let's go over there. And that's something that is really exciting for me, that I don't know what is gonna wait for me over there. I don't know what type of the view. So that's what I really like, because I feel like the many trips when we do, we already know what is waiting for us. For example, let's go to Paris. We already know how the Eiffel Tower looks. We already saw it on the photos before the trip. But like this, not knowing what is waiting for us, it just made it even more exciting and more enjoyable. And another thing that marked this student exchange was the Brno Lake. I stopped for a moment because I was trying to remember what is the name of this lake, but as I googled it, is Brno Lake, and it's a water reservoir on the river Svratka. And this is the place number one for this exchange, the place where we spend a lot of time. It was not super close to my dormitory, but it was around, I would say, 40 minutes traveling to there, because we were going with a tram. It's a really beautiful spot of Brno, I guess, like the summer destination number one for most of the Brno people. I said Brno, but it's not Brno, it's Brno. You really need to pronounce the letter R. Not too much as in Spanish, R, but Brno. This Brno Lake holds a really special place in my heart, as we spent countless hours here during that time. It's where many beautiful memories were made, and I have a lot of love for it. We played beach volleyball here, and it's a game that I adore. We organized barbecues, parties and hangouts, and enjoyed every beautiful summer day here. And if anyone asked me about my favorite places from the last few years, this lake would definitely be in my top 10 places, and I would gladly come back anytime. And as I compare the mentality of people and schooling in all of these exchanges and countries I lived in Czech Republic, I cannot really compare it to schooling and the way of studying, if it's harder or easier, because it was Corona period and we haven't been studying a lot. It was most of the things online. Only on the start we went for courses. So, but I would say from impression I had, I would say it's quite similar to Poland and Serbia, maybe a little bit easier and more interesting at the same time. About the mentality, definitely super similar to Polish mentality. And there is a thing that I have noticed that is quite different to other Slavic nations, is that a lot of people here in Czech Republic, they had different tattoos on their body. So I have noticed that tattoos are really popular in Czech Republic, and comparing to a lot of countries around the Europe, here I noticed them the most. Maybe in Spain and here, but here I was quite surprised to see so many tattoos. And some other things that crossed my mind during this period are dormitory parties, of course, especially in the room of my Turkish friend Ferhat, saludos. and his cuisine. We organize at his place in other rooms many times these international dinners where we have tried many different typical food from different countries around the world. And usually always when we were talking between each other, we would say that Turkish cuisine was the best, at least at this exchange. No matter that during the big part of this period many clubs and discos were closed, we had many little parties among us within the dormitory or within a group of our friends that we used to see a lot. Also the clubs, they started working in end of May, I would say in May, and the whole June we held parties. So no matter this period was Corona period, we had a lot of dancing. That's what I wanted to mention, and that's also something that marked this period. A lot of dancing and making choreographies with my friends. And when I now look back at this student exchange, I was living and I was going through a lot of stuff, and I was going towards a good directions that I would like to go now still. So there was a lot of nature, forests, lakes, hiking, dancing, volleyball, sunsets, happy moments. So when I look back at this exchange, I was really going towards a good direction, and it really felt like an exchange that is concluding all other exchanges, as I was going the direction I wanted. I mean, the type of life I was living there, that's the type of life that I wanna do now. I still wanna go the same directions I'm still going, but this is the period where I was going for many things I like. So it really felt like going after the things I want, and that's something that I mentioned in the previous episodes, that we should go after the things we like and we want in order to be happy. So I can say that in this period I was really happy. And another thing that crosses my mind is the path I was taking to the shop Tesco, where I was getting my grocery supplies during this Corona period, because all smaller ones were closed, or this was the biggest one that was closest to me. And I remember the path like a little bit, partly through the city and partly through the hill where there was no building and it was just like nature, and we called it Tesco Hill, and it really stayed in my mind. And that's also the place where I have a lot of memories that had happened over there. From Tesco Hill you could see a nice view of the city, and also you could see a city center. I didn't say at the start about Brno, some touristic attractions and more about the city, so I will use this opportunity to mention more about it. So shortly about it, there is the Spielberg Castle. It's kind of the hill in the center of the city, and from this hill you have a great view in all the surroundings. It's similar to Graz, as I mentioned in the previous episode. It's like the city, and in the middle there is a hill, there is a castle from where you have an amazing view. So it's quite similar to that. And in the old town hall there is a lot of older buildings, and also nearby there are some museums. So this center of the old town hall and Náměstí Svobody, and that's also the place where we spend a lot of time, and there is a lot of cafes. So it's like really typical European city, and of course with its own unique, authentic vibes. One of the first things that you see when you are coming to Brno, entering the city, you can see on the top of the hill the cathedral of St. Peter and Paul, and I think that's another hill that is in the city center, and then behind that one is the castle. So there is two hills, and also, as I mentioned before, we did a lot of hikings around the city, so there is a lot of hills in this area, the similar as I said in Graz. So it's really nice surrounding, and it's like from a fairy tale also, because you have castle in the middle, some old town city, and all around it's beautiful natures with beautiful forests and lakes. Before going to Graz and now Brno in this case, before going there I imagined that there will be like cities similar in my area where everything is almost flat and just a regular city, some river around. But the thing that I was positively surprised and impressed with was that they have a lot of hills, a lot of forests and nature around them. So it's better than I expected. And there is quite a few little rivers around. I remember Svitava, Ritska, Svratka, and on these rivers we spend a lot of time, especially on Svratka and Svitava. When I look back on the summer days in Brno, I warmly remember our river adventures on the river Svratka. We kayaked along the river, making our way to the Veveri Castle, a notable tourist attraction just outside the city. And during those summer days we would gather a group of around 40 friends with over 20 kayaks flowing down the river together, so all around the river. And from one of the kayaks in the middle we had music playing, and that was creating a festive, cheerful atmosphere as we were celebrating together our youth and general joy of our lives. And with this warm memory I would like to conclude today's episode and finish it. And we can conclude it with that we should always follow the things we love and head in the direction of what truly excites us and fulfills us. Because when we pursue our passions and interests, we find happiness and satisfaction in our journey, and life becomes an upbeat and beautiful adventure, just as I had it in these 4 student exchanges. In each one of them, my life was full of joy and fulfillment, and when you align your actions with your desires, you create a life that, resonates with our true selves. And when you align your actions with your desires, it brings you, from my experiences, I can say many beautiful moments. So abundance of moments of bliss, and all of it is fulfilled with a lot of satisfaction. And right now in this modern lifestyle there is a lot of lack of happiness, I would say, and all of us every day we are looking out to make our day as beautiful as it can be, so we can be as happy as much as we can. So the best advice that I learned from my experiences is just to pursue your passion and interests, and you'll feel much more satisfied with your life. And I do, as everyone else, have in my everyday life a lot of distractions, but this is something that you should always have in the back of your head. No matter what you do, you should know that you deserve to be happy, and how you will become happy, you should just follow, as I said, already mentioned a few times, follow your passion, interests, things, and go after the things you want to have in your life, because that's how you will achieve to be happy and fulfilled. If you don't know what are you passionate about, just think about it, find it, follow it, and see the magic happen. Because through my own experience, such as prioritizing my last student exchange over pursuing further studies, I've learned the importance of pursuing what we truly want and desire. It's crucial to follow our intuition and desires, even if it seems challenging at first. This effort at the start, this initial effort and determination to achieve your own goals will help you get there, and once you get there, you will meet with an incredible feeling of accomplishment. And now, reflecting on this period I can say, with all of these exchanges, not only this one, all of these 4, and during this period I felt great joy, I felt love for life, I felt happiness, all of that surrounded by nature. And I think it's a perfect example of fighting for the lifestyle that aligns with you and with your values. And if you are living the way you want, you have the lifestyle that suits you, it will just bring a lot of comfort and fulfillment to your life. Thank you for listening to my podcast Life Adventures Taught Me. With today's episode, we have explored the importance of pursuing what excites us, and not only with today's episode but also with previous episodes together, we have achieved at the same time one of the main aims of this podcast, and that's to realize, conclude, and point out how important it is to follow our passions in our life, whether it's chasing dreams, exploring new adventures, or simply enjoying the journey of everyday life. I hope that this episode has inspired you to embrace what truly matters to you. And there you have it. What a fantastic way to wrap up the episode. Until the next episode, stay curious, stay adventurous, and keep following your heart. Ciao, ciao.